Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and today we are in Oxfordshire. This is the church of St Leonard, Sunningwell. It's actually not very far at all from Oxford City, and yet it's very much a country church. It's mostly 13th century. It's cruciform, which is, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, you'll know is fairly unusual. Although cruciform churches, that's a church in the shape of the cross, have a deep influence in the Western tradition, yet they're relatively rare because they're quite complicated to build. Even one like this, and we'll see this is the simpler kind of cruciform church. It's been altered in the 14th century, 15th century, and in the 16th century, an impressive west porch was built by John Jewell, who was rector at the time, 1551, and later went on to be the Bishop of Salisbury, and also the author of the Apology for the Church of England. Now, that's not the way that one might think that Archbishop Welby should be apologising for the Church of England today, or to the Church of England even, but, and that's a matter of opinion, but it means classical apologia defence. And Jewell is writing in the middle of the 16th century defending the existence of the Church of England as a Protestant and, yes, Reformed church. So we know very much the theology of one of the former incumbents here. Well, as usual, we'll have a look around and see the things there are to see in this church. So without further ado, let's do that. As usual, then, we start at the west end, and we are here in the Jewell porch. It's an unusual building in that it is polygonal. That is to say, and as we pan around slowly, you can see here the timber work holding up the roof. That's the front door, and you can see it's a polygon, which is not another word for a dead parrot. And we go through this doorway into the church, and we'll turn around to have a look back at the Jewell porch from the church. You can see it's very unusual. Outside it's even more unusual because it's a mixture of a Renaissance and Gothic styles. So a bit of classical, bit of Gothic, bit of a mashup. So very interesting. The church was restored in the 1870s by one J.P. Seddon, one of the leading Gothic architects. The font, you can see here, this appears to be 15th century, 17th century lid by the look of things. Well, cover really, but I'll put a lid if I want to. And the pews, these are 17th century or maybe 16th century. They may even be from Jewell's time. Certainly they were regarded by the Victorians or by Seddon as important enough to keep. Now, the reason these are smooshed together is we got a leak up there. They are repairing it on the outside, so they've shifted everything forward for that reason. You can see these are, it's what's known as the poppyhead style. Now, poppy here does not actually mean poppy, it's from the French poupée, doll. I don't know much like a doll's head either, but some of them have human features. It's a style that comes in really in the 13th, 14th century, and by the 16th century, 17th century, you get these grand, and these are oversized. Normally they're smaller than this, but quite impressive. We have the War Memorial. As usual, many more names in the, many more names on the First World War than the Second. Notable here is Flight Sub-Lieutenant Arthur Geldon Shepherd, Royal Navy, so he is an early pilot. And aeroplane research observer David Hume Pinsett of the Royal Aircraft Establishment, killed May the 8th, 1918. And this is most likely in a flying accident. Early aeroplanes, early military aeroplanes, early aeroplanes in general, in fact, could be much more dangerous to their, or at least as dangerous to their pilots as to the enemy. And you can see that this is a basic nave and chancel, but what's happened is that we've had transepts added, and this, as I say, this is the cheap version of cruciform, because what you do is you add on a couple of extensions. This is 15th century here, this is the and the south transept. On the north side, in fact, that's the tower with the vestry underneath. Restored, I say, by J.P. Seddon in the 1880s, and while he's retained the pews in the nave, he has constructed brand new choir stalls and a couple of desks, and he has also provided this rather nice wooden lectern. And he's produced the floor here. Now this floor, you've got these mosaic, and then you've got these tiles of figures holding crowns, and then in the middle you've got the emblems of the four evangelists. East end, again, we've got this typical Victorian arrangement. You've got an alabaster reredos, and above there is this east window. You can see you've got the Nativity at the top, and then below Christ carrying the cross with St. John and the Virgin Mary. Piscina, this again is certainly Victorian. Memorial here to Captain Clifford Whittington Green of the 1st Royal Berkshire Regiment. Died in France, June 27th, 1915, of wounds received while placing his men under cover from shell fire. And again, we've got this rather nice floor here. And here we have memorials, Thomas Fell, Elizabeth Fell, Mary Fell. These are memorials to the family of Dean Fell. Now, Dean Fell may or may not be the man of whom it was written, "I do not like thee, Dr. Fell. The reason why I cannot tell. But this I know full well, I do not like thee, Dr. Fell." Sometimes at Oxford, rivalries can be a bit weird. And no, you're not seeing things, the whole building does have a bit of a lean to it. It is entirely safe. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't be allowed in. The pulpit is 17th century. It's the 17th century when pulpits become standard fittings in every English church. Before then, they're optional. But it's James I, who fancied himself a bit of a theologian, who said, no, we have to have preaching in every church. Elizabeth I wasn't a great fan of preaching. She felt that as long as the clergy could read the service and the homilies, the authorised short sermons, authorised sermons, that'd be fine. And you can see this has been furnished as a small chapel, although that's a cupboard, not an altar. We have the Mothers' Union banner. The Mothers' Union is an Anglican organisation, as the name suggests, for mothers. It's supporting mothers, and at one point, basically every parish church had one. It's still around, but much smaller than it used to be. And often, all that's left of the Mothers' Unions, I think they may still have one here, but in many churches, all that you've got left is the banner. And they can be very pretty things. You can see here, this one's got a picture of the church on it. Inside the screen there, and that screen, certainly parts of it are medieval. And then we have a east window here with St. Leonard, St. Mary, and St. Edmund Rich. So that, you see there's a small altar there, but the cupboard's there instead. So that is the inside here at St. Leonard's, Sunningwell, Oxfordshire. Let's go outside and see what I see then. I say particularly the most interesting thing is the dual porch. Well, so here we are outside, and here is the dual porch. And if one maybe permitted the pun, it's a bit of a jewel, isn't it? With these classical columns. And then you've got the door is a bit of a mixture of late medieval, late Gothic, and Renaissance motifs. So outside, the building is very much as is on the inside, a mixture of styles with a predominating late medieval feel to it. A bit of Victorian work, but it's nothing excessive. expensive, which is always rather nice, particularly when Seddon's involved. So we'll have a look around the outside, shall we? So here we are outside. I mentioned inside where you can see the water ingress, and you can see that they're fixing up the wall here, which is a very, very good thing. The polygonal porch is very unusual. I haven't seen another one like it, in fact. John Jewell, of course, we're near Oxford, so there's a lot of learning and a lot of skill there. Colleges are being built. So there's people there who can build something like this, and John Jewell says, we need a new church porch, let's get this one. And what a porch it is. Now here you see the windows, and these windows are very much in the Gothic style, but the columns are neoclassical. So it's very, very interesting as this transitional period in architecture, this move from the traditional pointed to the more neoclassical, more sort of echoing ancient Greece and particularly ancient Rome at the time, because Greece is off limits. Of course, Ottoman Empire owns Greece, but Rome, although difficult sometimes for Protestants like Jewell, it's still there. People can visit Rome and they can see the Roman remains in other parts of Europe, including in France, of course, and Germany. And so you get these structures in that period that echo this classical era. That little thing on the side is what appears to be the boiler house. Heating matters. The north side, this is the south side, in fact. It's just one of these ones that confuses me, because the south side has all this, it doesn't have the graveyard on it, and the north side does, which is not the opposite of how it should be. You can see here that this transept is a later addition. It is 15th century, and it's up against this 14th century wall, and you can see an old window has been blocked up there, and these 15th century windows have been inserted. Note the rubble stonework here and the ashlar there. So higher quality stonework, built of course as a chantry chapel by a local family. And the chantries are suppressed under Edward VI, who was the first actual Protestant king of England. Henry VIII was not Protestant. He was his own kind of Catholic. He essentially was a medieval Catholic in his theology, but repudiated the papacy for his own reasons, mostly involving, of course, getting rid of his wife, Catherine of Aragon, which is unfair on her, but there we are. Here's the tower, nice 15th century tower, and really good gargoyles and everything at the top. So we move out here and see the beauties of the church. Now, the setting is quite nice here. You've got the cottages around a little pond in the middle of the village. Very pretty. And there we are, tower, and that is Sunningwell St Leonard's. So there we have it, St Leonard's, Sunningwell, beautiful medieval church where John Jewell, the great defender of the Church of England, was rector before ending up in Salisbury. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.